We spend most of our days thinking the ordinary isn't worth remembering. The morning coffee, a daily walk, or the morning light coming through the window. But in 10 years, those are the moments you will want back. So keep these fragments. Capture the nothing moments, the stillness, the breath between the noise. One day you will look back and realize that the life you thought was just passing by was the one you will miss the most. Ciao, my name is Alex and I'm a photographer, filmmaker, and for a while now I'm documenting my life here on YouTube as well. It's a rainy week and I thought it would be fun to share how I achieve this cinematic look that you can see in my vlogs. It's nothing crazy, honestly. In fact, there are just a few simple steps that helps me to document and romanticize my daily life in an aesthetic way. Okay, so let's start with the first tip, and it's all about storytelling. I use something that I've called the form frame formula. And yeah, it's more difficult to spell it rather than shoot it, but it's quite simple and it consists in shooting a 4-shot sequence to tell any sort of story. So yeah, let me show you. So this tip is quite simple because it's all about cranking down a story to 4 shots. So if you can tell a story in 4 shots, you're good to go. So just let me break down my scenes. The first one is a wide shot, which in this case helps the viewer to understand where the action takes place. Then we have a medium shot, something that connects the environment with the action, and this helps to introduce the action. The third one is a close-up shot. And usually it works well to bring in a bit of emotion and at the same time to highlight the action itself. While the fourth shot can be something creative. It can be a wide one, a Dutch angle, a dolly zoom, or anything that helps to conclude the story sequence. Now, the best part of these sequences is that you can actually play around with the order of them. In general, not every story needs to start with a wide angle, of course. And more in general speaking, if you can tell a story with just 4 shots, then you can expand it and tell a deeper story with more shots. Really good. Ciao. Ciao. Now, moving on, the next thing to consider, it's all about light and contrast. And personally speaking, I prefer to shoot and vlog with what I have here, so natural lights and practical lights. For me, the word cinematic means adding some depth to your image. And I don't mean having some background separation as you can have here, but it's actually having some contrast in your image. And for me, the easiest way to do so is to have your camera placed on the opposite side of your main light source. Because for example, if you're keeping your camera next to your main light source, the image can look a bit flat. I mean, it's not bad, but of course you lose some contrast. And usually it just works when your background is darker than your subject or just you, of course. So in that case, of course, it makes sense because you're like making contrast between the subject or you and the background. But generally speaking, when the contrast and the light in your environment is basically the same, keeping the light on one side, as I'm doing right here with the main window, or eventually in the back as the other window here, it creates a bit of contrast in your image. As you can see, this side of my face is lit up properly, and even this side here is lightened up properly. So yeah, especially when I'm documenting my daily life indoor, I prefer to use the natural light. And the only artificial lights that I'm using actually are these practical lights. So those are the lights that are naturally implemented in your environment, as can be these 2 lamps, for example. I just want to suggest to avoid using the main light source, as can be the ceiling light, just because that will flatten completely the image, like in this case. When shooting, I use some accessories that can help me to get very creative shots. And those accessories can be a bit expensive or very cheap, depending on which one I'm using. And in this section, I want to talk about three main accessories that I use almost daily. So the first one is the Magic Arm. This one is from Smallrig and it's quite cheap to be honest, but it actually helps me to get very creative with my shots. You can get POV shots of your pen drawing, for example, or a pot being placed over on the stove, or the portafilter basket. But I also use it for top-down shots when the furniture comes in hand. The second tool that I use, and is actually quite similar to the Magic Arm, but a bit bigger, and it comes in hand when I want to do top-down shots when I don't have anything to place my Magic Arm, and is the C-stand. C-stands can be quite expensive to be honest, but this one actually I paid just $100 for it. So whether I'm shooting a cooking sequence or drinking a cup of tea in the living room, this is the right tool. And yeah, I love it just because it gives you a unique angle and it can make an entire scene. The last accessory that I want to talk about is a diopter filter. Now, I use this one just because I can mount it on my lens and it's quite cheap to be honest. But you can use a magnifying glass in case you don't have a camera to mount your filter. And in case you don't know what this allows you to get the macro shots. So if the C-stands can pull the camera far away from your classic point of view, the diopter filter can actually bring into the action, showing details that you won't notice otherwise. So basically, it helps you to save some money on macro lenses, of course, and you can get a very soft look in your image. Now, as I talked in another video, I use my main camera to shoot all my vlogs and is the Sony a7C Mark II. I really love this camera because it's small, it's compact, the quality is just amazing and I can mount beautiful lenses to it. But it's not the camera that actually does the cinematic look or helps you to romanticize your life. In fact, you can use whatever camera you have. And trust me when I say you don't need a professional camera. You can even use your iPhone. Of course, maybe you can get a lot of depth of fields, but you can get incredible images out of it. So yeah, let me show you. So as you can see, you can get incredible results with even just an iPhone. It's just about following the previous tips, so the form frame formula, shooting backlight, and getting creative with your shots. I also edited this sequence on my iPhone, using the native app to color correct each scene and using the Edits app from Meta to just, well, edit it. And talking about editing, I think there is one important thing to consider when editing, and is the coherency between the shots. You know, editing can be a big rabbit hole, and I think you can get very creative with it. I think online you can see crazy edits and they're just beautiful. But I also think the simple things are always the best. And when it comes to the edit, I always try to have some coherency of movement between two separate clips. For example, if in one frame I'm moving in a certain way, in the following frame the movement should be coherent and continuative. And just this simple trick can make your edit very smooth and easy to watch. As you can tell, I really love making stunning, beautiful videos, and I think documenting my life in a cinematic and aesthetic way is a great way to romanticize my life. As a creative person, documenting my life is a great way to remember it in 10 or 20 years. And what I hope is one day I will just look back at these videos and maybe smile at what I was doing, even if it's, I don't know, cringe sometimes, or funny, or yeah, romanticized. And there is one thing about the tips that I share that I think they're not just about how to make a video, but more about paying attention. Because in my opinion, the act of filming something forces you to be present, to notice stuff. And noticing your life is a good way to start appreciating it. So my suggestion, yeah, is to pick up a camera, even your phone, and tomorrow document a small moment of your life. And the best part is that it doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be like a movie set. It's just to be yours. So yeah, I hope it makes sense. Anyway, thanks for following along, and I hope all the knowledge will come in hand to you. And if so, just let me know in the comments. And in case you don't follow me, subscribe to the channel because a lot of good things are coming soon and I can't wait to share it. So yeah, see you in the next video. Ciao!